In vendor master creations, I am going to explain each and every field detailedly. So the first one, general data. Under the general data, the first section is address. In address, the first field is title. In title, we have four options like company, Mr., Miss and Mrs. If we are implementing SAP for limited or private limited companies, then the title we need to use company. Or if you are implementing SAP for small scale industries like a single owner, we used to call as proprietorship, then we can use the title as Mr. or Miss or Mrs. The next field, name of the vendor. You can enter the client vendor name, and if you have any additional name, you can enter in name 2, name 3 and name 4 field. So the next one, solution. Here you can define individual solutions in letters. These can be used in place of a generated solutions as required. You have to adapt the relevant print programs accordingly. Example, a print program uses dear sir or madam as the solution. Alternatively, you can define the solution with a particular business partner as being dear friends and adapt the print program to copy the solution field if it is not blank. So usage, the solution controls how print program fill the line for a solution in a letter. Dependencies, you can define solution in customizing for SAP business partner for financial services under define solutions. In addition to the default settings, you can also use the processing mode for the business partner to store your own solutions. You can then use this instead of an automatically generated solutions to suit your requirements. You will also need to adjust your print program accordingly. Example, you want to use solution 1 dear Mrs. for female business partners belong to the category natural person. The next field, search term 1 and 2. Use denotes the term that you define for a business partner and via which you can restrict the search for a business partner in the business partner search or in the locator. So the next field, VIP and undesirable customer. So the business partner is VIP, then undesirable customer indicates that a business relationship with the customer is not desired. Example, a warrant of arrest has been issued against this customer. So then the reasons for undesirability, you can define reasons for the undesirability of the business partner in customizing for the SAP business partner for financial services under the settings for financial services, general settings, basic settings, and then define undesirable customer informations. So then comment on undesirability, you can enter the commands for undesirability in the sections. So then street address, you can enter the client original address informations, street name, house number, postal code, city, country and region. Region is nothing but state. So the next one, PO box. PO box number as part of an address. Only enter the PO box number in this field. The text PO box is provided in the recipient language by the system when you print the address. When you print an address, the street address and the PO box address are distinguished. The print program determines which of them has priority if both are maintained in an address record. Besides the PO box number, the PO box address uses the following field: PO box postal code if specified, otherwise the normal postal code; PO box region if specified, otherwise the normal region; PO box country if specified, otherwise normal country. In the address is a PO box, do not fill the PO box field. Select the PO box without number indicator instead. You can also enter a company postal code for organizational address instead of a PO box. A separate field is predefined for this entry. Note: for general informations and examples about address formatting, see the documentations on the address structure key. So the next field is postal code. Postal code that is required for a unique assignment of the PO box. Usage: this field is used for countries where a different postal code applies to mail that is sent to the PO box rather than to the street address of a particular business partner. Postal codes for group major customers also have to be entered in the field for the PO box postal code. Since individual customers with a shared postal code for group major customers are differentiated by means of the PO box postal code for major customers, however, are assigned to one customer, only one have to be entered in the field company postal code. So the next field is company postal code. Postal code that is assigned directly to one company. Usage: this field is used for countries where major companies are assigned their own postal code by the National Post Office. This postal code has to be entered in the field company postal code. Postal codes for group major customers, however, have to be entered in the field PO box postal code. Since individual customers with a shared postal code for group major customers are differentiated by means of their PO box. So the next field, language. So based on the SAP implementation project, based on the country official language, we can select the language. For example, if you are implementing SAP for Indian company or US based company, so then we can go with language English. If we are implementing SAP for Japanese companies or Korean companies or Chinese company, then we need to implement SAP for their own languages. We used to call as mother language, because they still used their mother language as the official language. So based on the requirement, we can choose the language. The next field, telephone. Telephone number consisting a dialing code and number, but without the country code. If the telephone number consists of a company number and an extension, the extension must be entered in the field extension. Usage: telephone number as it must be dialed from within the country. This is the example for the number 012345/567-0. Enter the following telephone number and extension 0. Second case extension 544, third case extension 588. So the next field, mobile phone. Mobile telephone number consisting of dialing code and number but without country code. Usage: mobile telephone number as it is to be dialed from the same country. Procedure: enter the mobile telephone number. The following rules apply for the formatting of mobile phone number. The length of input in field mobile telephone can be maximum of 24 characters. Leading blank characters are not permitted in field mobile phone. The following are recognized as valid characters from digit 0 to 9 and letters A to Z, and the special characters and blanks but not as leading characters. If A plus is entered as the first character, the system checks whether the specified number starts with a country code. If it does, a warning is output because the country code is determined automatically by the system and is not to be stored in the field mobile telephone number. So the next one, fax number. Fax number consisting of dialing code and number but without country dialing code. If the fax number consists of a company number and an extension, the extension must be entered in the field extension. Usage, fax number as it is to be dialed from within the same country. So procedure, enter the fax number, the following rules applying for the format of telephone and fax number. The length of the entered in the field telephone and extension. Fax and extensions cannot be more than 24 character in total. Leading space are not allowed in the field telephone or fax or in the field extensions. So the valid characters are numbers from 0 to 9, letters from A to Z. So then email. Internet mail address, also called email address. Example, user.name@company.com. The internal mail address is used to send mail via the internet worldwide. So the protocol used in SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. The internet mail address format is specified in various RFCs. RFC is nothing but Internet Request for Command, including RFCs 821 and 822. So this is not an IP address. You can enter some data as a command in the command field. Then address valid from and address valid to. Valid from date of a business partner address. Validity end of a business partner address. So the next one, external address number. Address number is an external system's address number from an external system or a legacy system. Usage, if the current address has a different number in an external system, you can save this number here for information purposes. In direct input, you are able to maintain an address for your business partner by starting the external address number. If your business partner data is maintained in a legacy system, you can thus transmit changes to a BP address to the SAP system without having to know the SAP address number in the legacy system. So then the address overview. So you can see the entire informations about the address sections, like a standard address, address for correspondence, home address, business address and holiday home address. So the next sections is identification in the vendor master general data tab. Under the identifications, the first field, legal form, denotes certain legal norms that are of significance for the organization of a company. For business partners in the category organization, you can state the legal form of the company. This is for information purpose only. You can define the possible legal forms in customizing. Example, stock corporations AG in Germany, limited liability company GmbH in Germany. So the next field, legal entity. Definition, the legal entities are the organizations legal responsible for companies that are not legally independent. So the usage, for business partners in the organization category, you can specify the legal entity of the company. This is used for information purpose only. You can define the possible legal entities in customizing. So for example, German Federal Bank municipal associates. So the next field, date founded, which is nothing but date organizations founded. So the next field, liquidations date, indicates the end of bankruptcy proceedings. This date implies that the firm no longer exists. The next one, international location number, part 1. Here you enter the first 7 digit of the international location number. So the international location number is assigned when a company is founded. It consists of 13 digit, the last digit being the check digit. There are two categories of location numbers. Participants who only need an ILN is nothing but international location number, to clearly and unmistakably identify themselves for communication with the business partner are given a category 1 ILN. This cannot be used to identify articles by means of EAN. Participants who wish to assign the location number for their own enterprise areas are given a category 2 ILN. For a category 2 ILN, digits 1 to 7 are described as basics number. This is the use of basis of the creation of article number EAN. The next one is check digit. The check digit is derived from a special check digit procedure from digits of the previous international location number. In this way, you can check whether the international location number entered is actually valid. So the next field, factory calendar, indicates the factory calendar used by the company or organization. Dependencies, all the customary holidays and rules in relation to holidays are defined in the standard systems. You can change the default settings or add other factory calendar in customizing under SAP NetWeaver general settings and maintain calendar. So then external business partner number, or we used to call as BP number. Business partner number from an external system or a legacy system. Usage, if the current business partner is known under a different number is an external system, you can store this number here for information purposes. And direct input gives you the option of maintaining a business partner by specifying the external business partner number. If you maintain business partner data in your legacy system, you can transmit changes made to business partners to the SAP system without having to know the SAP business partner number in the legacy system. So the next field, military use. So this ID for mainly military use, both indicators civil use and military use are relevant to the respective legally required license checks. Example, according to EU or US law, according to EU dual use regulations or US law export administration regulations EAR from November 1, 1996, the use of the final product will be of decisive importance in checking and determining the appropriate license usage. In customizing for export licenses, you can determine that certain license types will be used for customers with mainly military use. When defining export licenses, the system can assign license types valid for military use only to those customers that have been marked as mainly for military use. So the next field, nuclear sector. So this indicator specifies that the business partner is active in nuclear sector. Usage, in licenses you can determine that they are also valid for business partners in nuclear sector. When the system determines licenses, it first checks if the business partner is selected with the nuclear sector indicator. If that is the case, the system can assign only licenses that are also selected for nuclear sector. So then the third view, control. The first field in control view, BP type, business partner type. You can use the business partners type to group business partners according to your own criteria in customizing. In customizing, you can show or hide fields for data entry depending on the requirements of the relevant business partner type. Procedure, select a business partner type. You can obtain help by pressing the F4 key. So the next field, authorization group. You can use authorization groups to stipulate which business partners user is allowed to process. Note, use the following authorization object: business partners authorization groups, B under BUPA under GRP. The system only checks this authorization if you made an entry in the authorization group field for the business partner. Otherwise, any user may process the business partner. The next field, print format. So attributes that determines the format for printing, correspondence with a business partner. Usage, the values you choose using the input help are used in subsequent processes. You can choose how the data should be printed or sent. So the next field, trading partner number. In SAP, separate entities under the same parent company are defined with different company codes. In order to perform intercompany code transactions in SAP, you must also define a trading partner on every transaction. A trading partner represents the company code that is an transaction with your company code. So the next field, grouping character, specifies the business partners grouping characteristic. Usage, you can use the grouping characteristics to subdivide and identify business partner within a client. Dependencies, you can edit a business partner's grouping characteristics in customizing for SAP business partner for financial service, under SAP for financial service, then general setting, then basic setting, then define grouping characteristic. You can assign authorizations to the grouping characteristics that have been defined authorization object, B underscore BUPA underscore PGM. Example, all the business partners for a group company are stored in one client. You want to assign each business partner to a subsidiary. If a business partner has business relationships with several subsidiaries, it exists several times in the systems, you can create a grouping characteristics for a business partner that represents its assignment to a single subsidiary. You can use an authorization object to restrict who has access to this business partner. So the next field, data origin, determines how the business partner data comes into the system. Usage, the origin type is for information purpose only. You can define the origin type with their name in customizing. Example, legacy data transfer and purchased address list. So then the next line, so the next field, notes. So the first note in the text line, you can enter the notes based on your requirement. So if the text contains formatting informations for character formatting such as bold type or underlining, it can no longer be changed in the overview, as this would delete the formatting. Therefore, you can change the text only in the editor. So the next view in the vendor master general data, payment transactions. Under the payment transactions, the first field bank details ID. Key identifying a business partner's bank details. Enter a bank details ID for each separate set of bank details for a business partner. Then bank country and region. Specify the country region where the bank is based. Usage. The country region key determines according to which rules the remaining bank data, for example bank number, bank account number, is checked. So the next field is bank key. The bank key is specified in this field, under which the bank data is stored in the appropriate country. The country specific meaning of this bank key is specified when defining country key. Usage. Normally banks have a bank number which then also appears in the control data of the bank. In certain countries, the bank account number assumes this function. In such as a case, there would be no bank numbers. The bank details are then under the account number. For data medium exchange, it can be useful to be able to create banks for foreign business partner without a bank number, even if the country in question has bank numbers. In such case, the bank key can be assigned internally. If the bank data is under another key, such as the SWIFT SWIFT code, for example, the number can also be assigned externally. So the next one, bank account number. This field contains the number under which account is managed at the bank. So the next one, bank control key. Use Brazil, France, Spain, Portugal and Italy. So this field contains a check key for the combination bank number and bank account number. So usage for USA. In USA, this field is used to differentiate between a savings and a current account. If no values is entered, the default value 01 is used. So 01 current account, 02 savings account, 03 loan account, 04 general ledger. So usage in Japan. In Japan, this field specifies the type of account. This information is copied from the payment medium print program into payment medium. The following is an example of the account types used. 01 similar to a savings account, 02 similar to a current account, 03 similar to an investment account, 09 other types of bank accounts. Usage in South Africa. In South Africa, this field specifies the types of account. The information entered here is forwarded to the bank that carries out the payment order. The following account types are permitted in ABC format. 01 current or check account, 02 savings account, 03 transmission account, 04 bond account, 06 subscription share account. Usage in Argentina. In Argentina, this field specifies the type of account. CC current account, CA savings account, CE special savings account, CS salary account. Usage in Venezuela. In Venezuela, this field specifies the type of account. CC checking account, CA savings account, CE special saving account, CS salary account. Usage in Mexico. In Mexico, this field contains a 2-digit key for classifying the bank account. This key has different definitions depending on the bank. For example, a savings or current account. Note: for countries that are not listed here, this field can be used for account specific information. So the next field, IBAN, IBAN, International Bank Account Number, a uniform standardized ID number for representing bank details, that is an accounting with the ECBS, European Committee for Banking Standards. In IBAN has a maximum of 34 alphanumeric characteristics and is a combination of the following elements. country key for the bank, ISO code, 2-digit check number, country specific account number. In Germany, this consists of the bank number and account number. In France, the bank number and account number. Check entry. Usage. The IBAN not only makes international payment easier, in some countries is the advantages for domestic payments as well. Depending on the country, it can mean advantages for value and fees. Dependencies. The IBAN can be maintained in parallel with the bank details, but it does not replace them. It is stored under master data of the business partner and can then be used when creating the payment medium. Since it is only the bank that has the account that may guarantee the IBAN corresponding to an account number, the SAP system only generates a proposal. You can confirm or change this proposal. If no proposal is generated, enter IBAN manually. So the next field, bank account alias, specifies the alias of a business partner bank account. An alias is an alternative representation of a business partner bank account. Usage. The bank account alias is the primary or the secondary account. Identifications, that is registered in a certain payment system. It is a unique representation of a bank account or an e-wallet that does not identify the financial institutions where the account is held. So the next one, reference details. Additional details for the bank details of the business partner. In some countries, the data for the bank details of the business partner have to be supplemented by other details in order to be able to use certain payment process. This supplementary details are defined here. So like a bank number, bank account number, name of the account holder. In additional data is required for the bank details for payment transactions in your country. So the next one, bank details ID in external system. If the current bank details are known under a different ID in an external system, you can store this ID here. The ID in the external system simply provides information on the number under which the bank details were created in your legacy or operation system. Direct input gives you the option of maintaining the bank details of your business partner by specifying the external ID. If you maintain business partner data in your legacy system, you can copy changes made to bank details to the SAP system, even if the SAP ID is not recognized by the legacy system. So the next field, collection authorization, states that the bank has collection authorizations from the business partner for the account. Set this indicator if the bank has collection authorization. So note for account receivable, financial accounting account receivable. If this indicator is not set, there is no bank collection. Note for contract accounts receivable and payable. This indicator is not relevant. So the next field, account holder name. Here you can enter another name that the payment program can use if the name of the account holder is not the same as the name of the business partner. So here we need to mention the name of the bank account. So then valid start and valid to. Validity start of business partner bank details. Valid to date of business partner bank details. Then change on signifies the date on which a change from one set of bank details to another takes place. Usage, processes that access the ID of the sourced bank details are automatically forwarded to the ID of the target bank details. The validity of the sourced bank details is restricted to 1 day before the change date. Example, you have created bank details for a business partner for the XYZ bank from the date January 1, 2006. The business partner changes to be ABC Bank. You create additional bank details for the ABC Bank and create the change date from January 1, 2006. Processes that access the ID of the bank details for the XYZ bank are now automatically forwarded to the ID of the bank details for the ABC Bank. So the next field, target bank details. ID of target details for change of bank details in business partner. So the next one, name of financial institution. The name of the bank is comprised of the bank name and the name of the branch office. In vendor master general data, the next screen status. The first field in status, achieving flag. What is meant by achieving flag? Establishes if the business partner is meant to be achieved. If the indicator is set, the relevant business partner can be achieved from the view of the business partner administration. If the check of the data to be achieved shows, for example, that there are still active business transactions, the achieving of the business partner data is prevented even if the indicator is set. If the indicator is not set, the business partner will not be taken into consideration during achieving. The next field in the status, central block. So generally we used to call as central block for business partner. If the business partner is blocked centrally, certain activities cannot be executed. So the next field, not released. Define whether a business partner has been released for business processes. Usage. If you have not set this indicator, you cannot use the business partner in question. If you have set the indicator, you should not use the business partner for application process yet. Its data must be checked first. So then the next field, contact. The contact field informs you whether the customer can be contacted or not. So the next one, status field, denotes the status profile to which user status are defined. So then active status, key which informs you of the current status of an object. Usage, a status can either be activated internally or externally for information and control purposes. So the next field, end date, termination date for business relations with the bank. Generally we used to call as end date. Then contact date, date of lost customer contact, indicates the date of the lost contact with the business partner. You can use the date of the lost customer contact to determine when hairless asset such as deposits to accounts and interest receivable may be seized on the basis of legal regulations. When such assets are seized or dormant and unclaimed accounts are closed after a fixed period of the time and the credit balance is transferred to a clearing account. In some countries, the bank then transfer the credit to the state in accordance with the legal regulations. If the customer has been in contact or if contact has been made with the customer, you can update the date field manually. If the customer has initiated a transaction on the account, it is possible for the business intelligence to automatically update the date field with the date of the lost customer initiated transactions. So this is called contact date. So the next one is various list. What is meant by various list? To view the list of the suppliers that have vendor master records in the tenant, select vendor master from the supplier section of the admin menu. This list makes it easier to invite suppliers and ensure their correct association to the vendor master record. So the next section, legal data. First field in legal data, target group. Assigns a target group to the business partner. The target group is an attribute that you can use to categorize the business partner according to your own criteria. For example, you assign business partners to groups that can be analyzed for marketing purposes. So then the next field, country/region, indicates the country or region in which the business partner belonging to the category organization has its registered office. So the next field is region, indicates the region in which the registered office of the business partner belonging to the category organization is located. For example, permitted regions can include federal, states, provinces or counties, for example. So then a registered office indicates the city in which the business partner belonging to the category organization is entered in the commercial register. So the registered office determines the place of jurisdiction of the areas served by the court where legal action may be taken against the business partner. So the next field, balance sheet currency. This currency used to calculate the balance sheet informations. So the next field, balance sheet display, provides informations about the type of balance sheet display. So the next field, capital increase, indicates the amount by which the equity capital of the organization was increased. So the next field is year of lost capital increase, indicates the year in which the equity capital of the organization was lastly increased. So the last field of increase we need to update in the year. So the next area in vendor master general data, vendor general data. Under the vendor general data, the first field is vendor number, specifies an alphanumeric key that uniquely identifies the vendor in the SAP system. So the next field, account group. So generally we used to call this a vendor account group. The account group is a classifying feature with vendor master records. The account group determines the number of interval for the account number of the vendor, whether the number is assigned by the user or by the system, which specifications are necessary and are possible in the master record. So based on the client requirement, we need to set up the vendor account group. It's a kind of template. We can create multiple vendor account group template based on our client requirement. For example, domestic vendor account group, foreign vendor group, and one-time vendor account group, like that. Each and every vendor group having their own set of field based on the client requirement. So the next field, customer, gives an alphanumeric key which clearly identifies the customer or vendor in the SAP system. So the next field, group key. If the customer or the vendor belongs to a group, you can enter a group key here. The group key is freely assignable. If you create a math code using this group key, group evaluation are possible. So the next field, block function, key that determines which procurement functions, for example, request for quotation, purchase order or goods receipt, should be blocked for quality reasons. The function for the block key can be set in the customizing applications. So usage, you can enter a block key in the supplier master record. In this case, the supplier block applies to all materials and plans. So second one is quality info record for quality management in procurement. In this case, the supplier blocks applies to a single material and plant. A block for quality reasons applies only to those materials for which QM in procurement is active. You can deactivate a block key that is active for a particular material and plant by entering a control key for QM in procurement in the material master record, in which the indicator block inactive is set. So the next field, VSR relevant. Indicator denoting that data can be stored for a vendor master record at sub range level. So the next field, plant relevant. Indicator denote that the data can be kept in the supplier master record at plant level. So then the next field, plant. Key that uniquely identifies a plant. It may be our own plant, our own company code plant, or other company code plant. So then repetition. Annual repetition for the data limit. The system uses only the day and the month of the date limit for external document identification. When you select the annual repetition field, the system determines the year based on the current year. This enables you to define the annual repetition of the numbering system for external identification of documents with a one-off entry. So the next field, date limit for external document identification. The system checks whether EDI partners have already used the same external identification for a transmitted document. The time period that the system checks is from the beginning of the EDI communication when the date field is blank. You can use the same date limit to restrict the period within which the system checks. The system checks the transmissions for which the creation date is between today and the date limit. So the procedure, define a date limit when your EDI partner restarts the numbering of documents from a certain date. Otherwise, the system determines duplicates. So the next field, train station. The name of the train station that the customer uses for receiving routine deliveries. The train station may differ from the station that the customer uses for express deliveries. So the next one, origin acceptance, specifies whether the acceptance of the ordered goods is to take place at the point of origin. So that is on the supplier premises. So the usage, if the indicator has been set, you must post the goods receipt to valuated GR blocked stock using the movement type 107 as soon as the goods have been accepted at the supplier facility. In a second step, you can post the goods from the valuated GR block stock to unrestricted use stock using movement type 109 as soon as the goods have been delivered by the supplier. So the dependencies, you cannot change the indicator in the purchasing document item. Once you have posted a follow-on document for the purchasing document item, we used to call as invoice receipt. The follow-on document is nothing but goods receipt and invoice receipt. So the next field, DMA indicator. So report key for data medium exchange. DMA is nothing but data medium exchange indicator. For foreign payments using a data medium exchange in Germany, this field controls whether the contents of the single data record are also included in the report to the Bundesbank when being made by the paying financial institutions. If no entry is made, the value will be determined from the DMI space for the house bank. Check the settings in customizing for house bank by the selecting the house bank there and check the reporting dates. So the next field, instruction key. Instruction key for data medium exchange. For automatic payment transactions, this field along with the house bank country and the payment method determined by the payment program controls which statements are given to the participating banks when carrying out the payment order. This field is used in countries such as Germany, Australia, the Netherlands, Spain, Norway, Finland, Japan, as well as for the international SWIFT format MT100. Selecting the instruction key. If data medium exchange is used, as well as in special cases when using document based payment orders, the instruction key must be maintained in the customer/vendor master record or in the system configuration for data medium exchange data. For the house bank, the following holds regarding the instruction key. Number 1, if the instruction key is maintained in the master record, then this instruction key is used. If no instruction key exists in the vendor master record, then the default instruction key defined for the house bank is used. Consequently, it is not necessary to provide all business partners with an instruction key. Only the exceptions need to be maintained. So note number 1, if it is necessary to specify a instruction key for a business partner's house bank that differs from the instruction key defined in the master record, this can be done when editing the payment proposal. Note number 2, the instruction key must be entered in the document for one-time accounts. Note number 3, the 4 instruction key fields belonging to the instruction key can be overridden by entering instruction key in the document. So the additional data screen in the customer or vendor line. So the next field, payee in document. If this indicator is set, you can enter an address or bank details for automatic payment transactions in the document which differ from those in the master record. This applies only to postings to this customer or vendor. So then alternative payee, the account number of the vendor which whom automatic payment transactions are carried out. So the usage, the field is only needed if payments are not to be made directly to the vendor to whom the payable is owed. The same applies to the bank collections of receivables. The important note, the specifications in this field applies to all company codes. There is a further field in which every company code can enter an alternative payee separately. Both fields are filled the company code specifications as priority. So the next field, BBC ISR number. So POR stands for payment order with reference number, a special payment procedure of the Swiss Postal Service. The field is therefore only relevant in Switzerland. Every vendor who participates in this procedure receives a subscribe number. Providing the POR procedure is to be used in automatic payment transactions. This subscriber number is to be entered in the master record. When entering invoices for vendor accounts, the subscriber number is copied into the document. The payment program pays all invoices with POR number individually. For data medium exchange, the transaction TA826 for data medium exchange and TA08 for SAD are created. When pointing out a form, only a note is printed so that the appropriate blue payment order can be attached to the authorized payment order. So the next field, payment reason, identifies the reason for the payments. The payment reason classifies the type of the payment transactions such as salary payment, purchase of goods, purchase of services, and so on, that you transfer from one bank to other. The payment reasons identify the payment according to the regulatory reporting requirements of your bank or the local authorities. For example, the payment reason 0001, salary payments, 0002, purchase of goods. So the next field, social insurance. Taxes in Argentina. An entry in this field shows whether the vendor has social insurance. This information is required for tax reporting purposes. This field is only applicable for the country of Argentina. So the next one, social insurance code. Taxes in Argentina. The activity indicator used for tax reporting in connection with social insurance payments. And this field also only for the country Argentina. So the next field, standard carrier access code. The standard carrier access code SCAC is an indicator used by forwarding agents in North America, unique code for identifying a forwarding agent. So, and this code only used for North America. The next field, core freight group. The forwarding agent freight group is used to group forwarding agents to determine freight code set. Usage, the freight code set determined with the forwarding agent freight group is used to define freight codes and classes. These are used for calculating freight cost and for communication with service agents. Procedure, maintain the relevant groups for the forwarding agent. So the next field, status group agent, refers to a status group for transportation service agent and is used to determine the data that the system updates in the logistics information system, or we used to call this transportation information system. Usage, you can assign statistics groups to the following categories: transportation service agent and shipment type. If you create statistics in the transportation information system, the system uses the combination of the specified statistics groups for determining the updating group. This in turn determines the fields for which the statistics are created. So the next field, service agent procedure. The service agent procedure group is used for determining the pricing procedure for shipment cost calculation. So the next field is external manufacturer. Specifies the name or number used by the manufacturer, that is not the one assigned by the RT system. Then next field, POD relevant. Supplier indicator relevant for proof of delivery. This indicator controls the process of proof of delivery during the incoming goods process for inbound deliveries. Processing is activating by switching on this indicator in the supplier master and by switching on the corresponding indicator in the delivery item category. There are the following different characteristics. So if you don't enter any data, keep it as blank, not relevant for POD. If enter A, generally relevant for POD. If enter B, only relevant for POD. If differences, so difference between notified quantity and actual quantity received. So POD is nothing but proof of delivery. The next field, carrier confirmation. This flag controls whether a confirmation message from the carrier portal is expected before the delivery can be executed. Usage, this flag is used for the return deliveries in the ERP system during the complaints and return process. If you want the selected carrier to be informed about the delivery, this flag determines whether the additional shipment information from the carrier is expected. So this located in the carrier's supplier master data. Dependencies. To use this flag, you need to know the following: carrier notification flag, delivery confirmation status, and shipment status. The next field, central deletion block. This indicator specifies that the general data in the master record may not be deleted. Central deletion flag indicates that all data in this master record is to be deleted. To delete this data, you have to run the archiving program for accounts receivable or payable. This program will archive all master records marked for deletion provided that there is no dependent data in them. Important note, delete flags can also be used in the program for deleting master data. You should, however, run this program only to delete test data prior to production startup. The next one is alternative payee. Indicator that vendor account number which can be specified as alternative payee during document entry or defined. The usage, the field informs you as to whether alternative payee were specified. Procedure, when maintained or displaying master data, you can branch to the maintenance or display of the permitted payee using the function key next to the indicator. So the dependencies, the indicator is not ready for input but is set by the system depending on the existence of alternative payees.
In vendor master detailed explanations, the next topic number 8, under the vendor general data, tax data. Under the tax data, step number 1, tax type. Tax type is nothing but classification of companies according to tax aspects. Then what is meant by tax base? Generally we used to call as percentage tax base. The definition is tax calculation for Brazil, especially in the invoice verification. The ICMS tax value is calculated with a reduced tax base for freight charges only. The law stipulates a reduced tax base of 80% of the transport invoice. The next one is tax split. The tax split also coming under calculation for only the country Brazil. The IPI tax value is split up for this vendor. 50% of the calculated IPI tax value is posted as deductible input tax. 50% is deducted from the inventory posting or posting to expense account. The next one is sales equalization tax. Indicates that business partner subject to equalization tax. Indicator via which a warning is issued when posting to the vendor account. The usage, the indicator is used for equalization tax in Spain for deliveries to the retail trade. So this equalization tax used for especially deliveries to the retail trade in country of Spain. The next one is label for VAT. Determines whether the company is liable to value added tax. VAT is nothing but value added tax. The next one is fiscal address. This address is used in Italy for business transactions with the tax office in Italy. The next field is information number, credit information number. External number as a reference for a credit agency. For information only, this number used. The next field is last external review. Last date on which the credit data of the customer or vendor was checked externally. The next one is tax number. Tax number at responsible tax authority. The tax number of the vendor at the responsible tax authority. The next one is tax number type. This field is used in Argentina. The format and the check of tax number 1 depend on the 2-digit tax number type. The tax number type is an identification type for tax in Argentina and is used for the TGI tax report. For example, 80 for CUIT. The next field is actual QM system. So this is supplier QM system. Usage, If your QM system is maintained by the supplier, you can store description of the QM system here. The dependencies: if your material is activated for QM in procurement, the system initiates the following check whenever the purchasing function are carried out. For example, when a request for a quotation is made, or if a purchase order is created, whether the supplier's verified QM system according to supplier master record or quality info record for a combination of supplier and material meets the requirement for QM system as specified in the material master. When carrying out the check, the system relies on the defined assignments for target QM system and actual QM system in the customizing application. If the check is unsuccessful, a warning message is issued when a request for quotation is initiated, and an error message is issued for all other procurement activities. So the next field is QM system 2. Validity date of certifications, date up to which the certification of the QM system is valid. Reference account group, the next one is reference account group for one-time account, which is called one-time vendor. Account group via which the one-time account screen fields are controlled when posting to the one-time account. Usage: by using the account group specification here, you can define one-time account screen fields as required fields or suppress them. When changing or displaying documents, the field control takes place in a similar way, in that the ability to change a field is also determined by the document change rules. If you do not specify a reference account group, then all one-time account group fields are ready for input when entering a document. So this is about reference account group. The next one is tax office. This is a category indicator for tax codes. This indicator is used to allocate customers and vendors to different tax categories. The system evaluates this information during document entry to assist users in selecting the tax code. The next field, TC, category indicator for tax codes. Category indicator for tax codes, which is nothing but this indicator is used to allocate customers and vendors to different tax categories. The system evaluates this information during document entry to assist users in selecting the tax code. The next one, collection authority form, entitled to deduct withholding tax form. Definition: date from which the company code is obligated to withhold tax for the given withholding tax type. This date must be entered in customizing under the withholding tax information for the company code. The customer is obligated to withholding tax for the withholding tax type. This data must be defined in the customer master record. The next one is the same field, entitled to deduct withholding tax until. So date to which the company code is obligated to withholding tax type for the withholding tax type. This date must be entered in customizing under the withholding tax information for the company code. The customer is obligated to withholding tax for the withholding tax type. So this is about vendor tax informations. We need to fill up the data based on our client requirement. The next topic number 9, country specific enhancement 2. Under the country specific enhancement 2, the first field is tax number type. Type of tax number assigned to the business partner. The usage: you can specify the tax number types as follows: USR EOU number, state register or individual taxpayers assigned by regulatory authorities, SR NP numbers. The tax number type is mandatory as it is required for statutory reporting purposes. The dependency: tax number type is an attribute which is required for business partners. The values are required to support data requirements for tax invoices and corrective tax invoices forms. Example: you are creating business partner master data for a new customer. For a legal person, valid tax number types are 1 or 3. For a natural person, valid tax number type are 2 or 4. The next field is valid from date. Date indicating as of when an entry is valid. The next one is tax number 1. So what does mean by tax number 1? Specifies the tax number, the usage, entry the appropriate tax number. Here you can see the left side country/region, the list of countries. So right side you can see the appropriate tax number. For example, the China, country China, VAT registration number. So for Colombia, NIT number. For example, Poland NIP number, Portugal NIF number, Romania tax number, South Korea natural persons personal identification. So this is how, based on the country, you need to assign the tax number category. For the country of Spain, NIF number. For Taiwan, GUI registration number. For Turkey, name of business partners, tax office. For Venezuela, RIF number. For United States, social security number. UK, United Kingdom, company registration number. Like this, you need to use the different type of numbers based on the list out countries. So the next, for the dependencies, if the Philippines enter the taxpayer identification number with a V or N at the end as follows. If the business partner is liable to VAT, if the business partner is not liable to VAT. So you can enter the number and end with V. You can enter the number if not liable, end with the N. So the next field is liable for VAT. Already we discussed about liable for VAT, so no need to discuss once again. So which is nothing but determines whether the company is liable to value added tax or not. Okay. So the next one is topic number 10 under the vendor master general data, vendor text. So under the vendor text, we can start with proposed language. So you can select which language is required to manage the vendor text informations in your client company. So based on client requirement and vendor requirement, you can set up the proposed languages. So we can select commonly English. The next one is language key. The language key indicates the language in which text are displayed, the language in which you enter text, the language in which the system prints the text. There are three options. So the next field is text ID. The text ID defines the various type of text related to a text object. For example, the object text standard text can have the following text IDs: ST for user specific standard text, individual text; SYST for cross application systems text. Various IDs for specific application departments. You must have the appropriate access authorizations in order to access these text. So up to this topic, text ID, under the vendor master, the vendor general data related topics are covered. I explain each and every topics in that detailed field explanations. I explained very detailedly each and every field in a specific topic. Especially we covered 10 topics under the vendor master general data. The next one we can go for in vendor master company code tab. Under the company code tab, there are so many topics are there. When we go to each and every topics, we will discuss each and every field, purpose, under requirement and usage with examples. Okay, thank you. The next topic number 9, country specific enhancement 2. Under the country specific enhancement 2, the first field is tax number type. Type of tax number assigned to the business partner. The usage, you can specify the tax number types as follows: USR EOU number, state register or individual taxpayers assigned by regulatory authorities, SR NP numbers. The tax number type is mandatory as it is required for statutory reporting purposes. The dependency, tax number type is an attribute which is required for business partners. The values are required to support data requirements for tax invoices and corrective tax invoices forms. Example, you are creating business partner master data for a new customer. For a legal person, valid tax number types are 1 or 3. For a natural person, valid tax number type are 2 or 4. Next field is valid from date. Date indicating as of when an entry is valid. The next one is tax number 1. So what does meant by tax number 1? Specifies the tax number, the usage entry, the appropriate tax number. Here you can see the left side country/region, the list of countries. So right side you can see the appropriate tax number. For example, the China, country China, VAT registration number. So for Colombia, NIT number. For example, Poland, NIP number. Portugal, NIF number. Romania tax number. South Korea natural persons personal identification. So this is how, based on the country, you need to assign the tax number category. For the country of Spain, NIF number. For Taiwan, GUI registration number. For Turkey, name of business partners, tax office. For Venezuela, RIF number. For United States, social security number. UK, United Kingdom, company registration number. Like this, you need to use the different type of numbers based on the list out countries. So the next, for the dependencies, if the Philippines enter the taxpayer identification number with a V or N at the end as follows. If the business partner is liable to VAT, if the business partner is not liable to VAT. So you can enter the number and end with V. You can enter the number if not liable, end with the N. So the next field is liable for VAT. Already we discussed about liable for VAT, so no need to discuss once again. So which is nothing but determines whether the company is liable to value added tax or not. Okay, so the next one is topic number 10 under the vendor master general data, vendor text. So under the vendor text, we can start with proposed language. So you can select which language is required to manage the vendor text informations in your client company. So based on client requirement and vendor requirement, you can set up the proposed languages. So we can select commonly English. The next one is language key. The language key indicates the language in which text are displayed, the language in which you enter text, the language in which the system prints the text. There are three options. So the next field is text ID. The text ID defines the various type of text related to a text object. For example, the object TXT standard text can have the following text IDs: ST for user specific standard text, individual text; SYST for cross application systems text. Various IDs for specific application departments. You must have the appropriate access authorizations in order to access these text. So up to this topic, text ID. Under the vendor master, the vendor general data related topics are covered. I explain each and every topics in that detailed field explanations. I explained very detailedly each and every field in a specific topic. Especially we covered 10 topics under the vendor master general data. The next one we can go for in vendor master company code tab. Under the company code tab, there are so many topics are there. When we go to each and every topics, we will discuss each and every field, purpose, under requirement and usage with examples. Okay, thank you.